Russia's invasion of Ukraine has political analysts asking themselves if Taiwan is next. China considers the democratically governed island its own territory. Taiwan split from the communist mainland in 1949 at the end of a brutal civil war. It's since become a thriving democracy with a robust economy and a freedom-loving people. The United States supports that democratic drive, and a possible visit to Taiwan by one of the US's top lawmakers, Nancy Pelosi, has China outraged. Foreign Ministry spokesman Xiao Lijian warns China would take forceful measures to defend its national sovereignty if Pelosi made the trip. If this escalates and, say, China blocks Taiwanese trade, the ripple effects would be felt around the world. But the tech hub is also a big player in the Chinese economy. That's why the bigger concern for Washington is Beijing seizing Taiwan's makers of semiconductors, which are a key part of so many things: smartphones, healthcare, military systems. Taiwan accounts for a fifth of the global industry. Supply chains would crumble. Another concern is Beijing seizing an outpost like the Kinmen Islands. They were a watershed in the Chinese Civil War. They're politically part of Taiwan, but are close to the Chinese coast, and many residents are pro-Chinese. For years, the islands had close trade links with the mainland, which Taiwan suspended in the pandemic. It's yet to restore direct ferries and flights. Locals fret they'll be abandoned by Taipei and swallowed up by Beijing.
The ferries from Kinmen to mainland China have been idle for 2.5 years. So is the tourism industry on the island. Wang Chongming's souvenir shop has suffered from the lack of tourists visiting. But he's also worried about security and relations with China.
I
want to peacefully reunify with China. We must not cut our ties, or else we will become enemies. Our ties with China have prevented war. China knows the people of Kinmen are not hostile, so they won't attack us. We are like brothers now.
Wang shows us a bomb shelter like the one he hid in as a child when the communists attacked. He's from the generation that experienced war with China. Now he says he would accept anything to survive.
If Taiwan and China go to war, Kinmen would be done for. Taiwan can't protect us. It's too far away to give us military support. If war comes, I will defect to the communists for the sake of survival.
Kinmen was an anti-communist frontline during the Cold War. Residents were cut off from even their relatives on mainland China, and they were also unable to freely travel to mainland Taiwan. Many felt like they didn't belong to either side. Opening direct links to China 20 years ago eased cross-strait tensions. Kinmen is now the most pro-Beijing part of Taiwan. It's only 5 kilometers away from the Chinese city Xiamen. Many Kinmen residents are hoping to build a bridge to get to the other side for trade and medical care. But opponents reject the idea, calling it a Trojan horse that could aid a Chinese invasion. Henry Lin is of the generation that did not experience the fighting. He built his war game business on widespread interest in recent history and wants to show customers what's at stake today.
The older generation fought so hard to defend our land, so we can have such an advanced, democratic and free country. If we give ourselves so easily to the communists, all the blood, sweat and effort will be in vain.
Henry has family and business ties with mainland China. The economic growth there impresses him, but he says Taiwan's freedoms are more important.
The communist regime controls your mind. You must be loyal and obey orders like a robot. Whereas in Taiwan, we encourage diversity and individuality. To me, freedom of thought and expression are very important. So of course, I don't want to reunify with China.
People in Kinmen disagree over whether they want to join China, but they all want to avoid a war that will surely be devastating.
China has vowed to annex Taiwan by force if necessary. It's flown warplanes near Taiwanese airspace and held military exercises based on invasion scenarios. Beijing is especially sensitive over any US naval presence in the Taiwan Strait. The Chinese Navy says it followed and warned an American destroyer that sailed through the waterway Wednesday. The US says its presence ensures freedom in the Indo-Pacific. The US is legally committed to helping Taiwan defend itself under the Taiwan Relations Act, but Washington also follows a policy of strategic ambiguity on the status of Taiwan to preserve relations with China. Former General Max Yu was the Dean of Taiwan's National Defense University's Political Warfare College. How likely, in your opinion, is a Chinese attack on Taiwan?
I think at this moment it's less likely. It's because China is facing the external and the internal problems. The external, as we know, Japan, United States, they already say that any attack on Taiwan will be, equal to attack on the Japan or even the United States. They will have to respond in kind. And domestically, right now is not a good timing for Xi Jinping to launch use force against Taiwan. Is because the internal issues such as the economic situation is downtrend, and they are facing very serious economical, problems, such as there are so many local banks now is on the verge of bankrupt. So I don't think it's a right timing for China to decide to attack Taiwan at this moment.
What about Xi's popularity, though? If it's taking a battering, wouldn't taking just a few outlying islands very close to the mainland be something that would boost his popularity at home?
Even though we know China's, they do have, in the past they used to launch external war to distract domestic tension. Yeah, but the situation now is totally different. Once Xi Jinping use force against any offshore islands of Taiwan, that will be equal the total war to against Taiwan and United States and its allies.
Why then all this military posturing from all sides?
Yeah, at this moment, I believe that all this military posturing actually is trying to, create some kind of check and balance, and also some kind of bluffing. The intent is to stop the war, prepare war to stop war. So I think include both United States and China have no intention to launch any war at this moment, but they need to adopt a military intimidation strategy, try to deter the China's so-called Taiwan independence movement. In their side, they believe all the internationalization of Taiwan issues sponsored by the United States and its allies, in particular the NATO's recent, visiting to Taiwan, is kind of they are pushing Taiwan go to independence. But from my point of view, China's all this kind of military intimidation gesture actually is trying to create the possibility of war if United States, they cross the line and not obeyed by the so-called one China policies.
Let me then ask you, what about the signal that Nancy Pelosi's team is sending with a potential visit?
I think because Nancy Pelosi, as you know, is the third position in the U.S. Command of 9. So it's a very high status, officials visiting if he can truly come to Taiwan. And for me, it's also signal a very important step that is United States is ready to change its current policy of strategic ambiguity into strategic clarity. So if Pelosi truly come to visit Taiwan, you can imagine there are no other restriction for other officials, U.S. officials come to visit Taiwan. So that means it signifies the change of the U.S. policy toward Taiwan.
Former General Max Yu, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Okay, thank you.
Since the beginning of the year, China's military posturing towards Taiwan has grown more aggressive. It's been holding more combat readiness drills nearby. It infiltrates the self-ruled island's airspace almost on a daily basis. In response, Taiwan is ramping up its military capabilities.
Taiwan's homegrown AT-5 Brave Eagle leaves its nest. The fighter jet will be deployed for air-to-air and air-to-ground combat training missions. The aircraft can also be integrated with a variety of weapons in the event of war. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has prioritized the development of weapon systems to defend the island.
We will continue to bolster our national defence and demonstrate our determination to defend ourselves in order to ensure that nobody can force Taiwan to take the path China has laid out for us.
Mainland China, which claims the self-ruled island as its own, is stepping up military modernization efforts and drills nearby. Nearly every day, Chinese planes fly in Taiwan's airspace. Washington is Taiwan's chief ally and supplier of defense weapons. Despite not having formal diplomatic relations, US law requires the government to treat all threats to the island as matters of grave concern. In 1992 and 2019, Taiwan bought 216 US F-16 fighter jets in 2 batches. But Washington's policy of strategic ambiguity regarding China and Taiwan has made it harder for Taipei to buy US equipment.
I'm Ben Fazulin. Thanks for your company. We leave you with more images from Taiwan, which is building up its military muscle in response to China's more aggressive approach. Thanks for watching and goodbye.